Thank you for joining me. Today we are going to be discussing bipolar disorder. We will be talking about how it affects children and their families, how we can fight against the stigma, and how to raise awareness and empathy for those struggling with this illness. Firstly, I wanted to start off by talking about what stigmas are. The American Psychiatric Association states that stigma often comes from a lack of understanding or fear. On top of this, inaccurate and misleading media representations of mental illness contribute to both of those factors. It does not help when we add in the fact that the stigma of mental illness is universal. In 2016, a study concluded that there is no country, society, or culture where people with mental illness have the same societal value as people without mental illness. Change Your Mind, an Ireland mental health campaign in partnership with their public health, did a study in 2021 to find that 90% of people with a mental health condition will experience stigmatization in their life. Imagine we said that 90% of children with cancer would experience bullying or exclusion. That would sound crazy, right? Because I am someone who suffers from bipolar 1 disorder, I thought it would be interesting to make my own survey full of stigmas and facts about bipolar disorder, and then the people that I connect with the most and see what they know or don't know about bipolar disorder. As you can see in figure 1, nearly half of my responses believe in this very common misconception about bipolar disorder. The people that I talk to and interact with on a regular basis are the same people who can be unknowingly spreading misconceptions and stigmas about mental health disorders. What is bipolar disorder? A medically reviewed journal states that bipolar disorder is best described as a group of brain disorders that cause extreme fluctuation in a person's mood, energy, and ability to function. There are 3 types of bipolar disorder: bipolar 1 disorder, bipolar 2 disorder, and cyclothymic disorder. To understand bipolar fully, you must first understand what a depressive, mixed, manic, and hypomanic episode is. So I'll briefly cover the symptoms and criteria of the different episodes. The DSM-5 states that major depressive episodes must consist of at least 5 depressive symptoms, which may or may not include a depressed mood, low energy levels, difficulty completing routine tasks, the inability to concentrate, etc. On the opposite side of the spectrum, we have a manic episode, whose criteria consist of an abnormally elevated or irritable mood, as well as elevated energy levels and goal-directed behavior lasting at least 1 week. Similar to a manic episode, a hypomanic episode's criteria consist of an abnormally elevated or irritable mood, as well as elevated energy and activity levels lasting at least 4 days. Lastly, a mixed episode's criteria consist of meeting the full criteria of a manic or hypomanic episode while also expressing 3 or more depressive symptoms during the episode. Back to the bipolar types. There are 3 main types of bipolar disorder. Bipolar 1 disorder is a mood disorder that symptoms consist of manic episodes or mixed episodes that last at least 7 days, as well as depressive episodes that typically last 2 or more weeks. Bipolar 1 can exist with or without psychotic features, and manic episodes in bipolar 1 patients can lead to hospitalization and cause significant disruption and damage to the patient's everyday life. To qualify for a bipolar 2 diagnosis, you must have experienced both a depressive episode as well as a hypomanic episode, but have never had a manic episode itself. Hypomanic episodes typically will not lead to hospitalization nor cause the significant damage in the patient's life that a manic episode would. Cyclothymic disorder is an uncommon mood disorder that symptoms consist of hypomanic and depressive characteristics, but do not qualify as such due to their intensity and length of duration. You must show depressive and hypomanic symptoms for the past 2 years to be diagnosed with cyclothymic disorder, or only 1 year for children. Firstly, I wanted to start off this slide by saying that patients with bipolar disorder are not all the same, which is unfortunately another misconception. There are different types of bipolar disorder, as well as different levels of severity, which go hand in hand in how symptoms are affecting each individual. Manoli and others state that psychiatric comorbidity in bipolar disorder ranges from 57 to 74%. This study alone tells us that there's a great variety in the way that bipolar patients may present their symptoms, and some of those symptoms may be due to other disorders as well. On top of psychiatric comorbidities, there's a 63% medical comorbidity rate in bipolar patients. Comorbidity in patients can worsen the quality of life, and one study even showed that comorbidity with physical conditions could worsen the social and cognitive functions of bipolar patients. Moving on to a deeper subject. An article named Suicidality in pediatric bipolar disorder states that the risk for completed disorder patients is among the highest of all psychiatric disorders. Going back to the cancer analogy, we know that cancer is one of the leading causes of death among children, and we fight it, right? Now take this thought. When you hear of a bipolar child, what is your first thought? Do you know of any wildly renowned fundraisers for mental illness? Are there any special hospital chains for them, such as St. Jude's Hospital, for example? In fact, do you know where the largest mental hospital in America is? It is in Cook County Jail. That's right, a jail. This is not a competition between the two diseases either, but simply a question of why not both? Why can't we fight for mental health issues, which kill just as much, if not more, children in Dulcilence every year, just as much as we fight for physical health issues? Let that sink in. Back to the topic of suicide. A study from 2016 states that suicides have become the second leading cause of death in teenagers aged 15 years old, surpassing homicide as of 2014 in the USA. I am sharing this to express the significance of mental health issues, to talk about how globally mental health problems remain stigmatized and are not a well understood topic. This is a deadly problem that we must take action against. Moving on, we will watch a short 44-second clip from this video, which will give us a first-hand account of how raising a bipolar child has effects on the entire family.
You never know from 1 minute to the next what's going to happen. You have to take it, not even one day at a time. It's hour by hour. It's very difficult to try and keep peace. It can put a strain everywhere. It puts a strain between mother and father, husband and wife, outside relatives, and friends. They don't understand what you're going through.
Family therapy helps the Kimps work through their problems.
Do you get mad when she gets all the attention?
No, because I know she's got problems and I know she needs attention.
And mommy and daddy are trying to help her, right?
Yeah.
And mom and dad are there for you too, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to bring this short video clip to your attention to raise the awareness of the effects that raising a child with bipolar can have on the entire family. Experiences will vary just as patients will vary, but the bottom line is that raising a child with any illness is hard on the entire family. Family-focused therapy can be immensely helpful for families who have loved ones and children with bipolar disorder. Family-focused therapy contains psychoeducation, enhanced communication skills, as well as problem-solving skills for when conflict arises at home. Not only should families receive psychiatric support, but also support from their community. Bringing us back to the cancer analogy, people bring casseroles, cards, flowers, etc. to families dealing with a child sick from cancer. So I ask you again, why is it not the same for families dealing with a child sick from mental illness? I wanted to tell you a story about a little girl named Rose. Rose grew up in a dysfunctional family. She had generations of suicide on her mother's side and a history of bipolar and drug issues on her father's side. Growing up, she was her mom in and out of psychiatric hospitals and her dad having pipes and needles out on the tables, along with random girls in and out of their house, especially when her mom was sick. She remembers always being on the move and searching for shelter and food with her parents. She went into the foster care system when she was 9 years old, and hanging on to any walls she could get a grip on as she was dragged out from where she was living. Even at the age of 9, she recalls thinking of suicide while being essentially locked away in her foster homes, completely isolated from everyone she knew and loved. When Rose was 14, she was still in foster care and it was deemed her mother would never get her back. Rose's mother then committed suicide. This left Rose feeling more isolated than ever. She started acting out and dabbling in drugs. She got into an abusive relationship that married her mother's and father's that same year. She started participating in self-harm, even acts that seemed unintentional. She purposely put herself in dangerous situations, multiple times, just hoping for something bad to happen to her. Thankfully, it never did. She started showing psychotic features and got admitted to her first psychiatric hospital at 14. She self-admitted initially and even liked it there at first due to the other kids that she got to interact with, but that quickly got old. She was admitted to the psychiatric hospital 7 times before she turned 16. She spent Thanksgiving, Easter, and the 4th of July in a psychiatric hospital. She got tired of her foster family always sending her back to psychiatric hospitals, so she went absent without notice, also known as AWOL, and was homeless until she was almost 18 years old. When she was 17 and a half, she was taken in by a loving family, one that showed her warmth, grace, and kindness. She went to therapy, took her medication, finished high school, and went away for university. She did amazing at university. She was on the dean's list and had a 4.33 term GPA. Things were going amazing for her, from the outside at least. The thing most people didn't see was that Rose became chronically ill from the trauma that she endured over the years, and she stopped taking her medication because she felt like it didn't help. On top of this, she was overwhelmed by how good she was doing and how many people expected good things from her all of a sudden. She had a serious suicide attempt at 19 years old and was on life support. She was readmitted to an adult psych ward across the country from where she was from and all alone when she woke up. She was forced to be put back on medication and released. She stopped taking the medication when she got out, but did seek psychiatric help in the form of weekly therapy and was diagnosed with bipolar 1, PTSD, and borderline personality disorder. Rose went back home to where she has a support system and is currently seeking a Bachelor of Science degree online in biochemistry, and she still has a 4.22 GPA until this day despite her struggles. I'm telling you the story because I am Rose. Rose is my middle name, and I've lived through some really hard stuff and still deal with the effects from it daily, but I haven't given up. I'm telling you the story because patients with bipolar are just like anyone else. I don't have multiple personalities. I'm not dangerous nor violent. I am just someone who has lived through stuff that most people won't ever understand. Patients with bipolar deserve the same support and understanding that you would give someone who is physically ill too. It is not easy to live with these disorders, and I hope I could help you guys see patients with bipolar in a different light today. Thank you for listening to me. I will now point to historical and famous figures that struggled with bipolar disorder. Evidence suggests that Vincent van Gogh had bipolar disorder, and it is even said that Van Gogh painted his now famous Starry Night painting in St. Remy de Provence's psychiatric facility in June of 1889. From Vincent van Gogh and Ernest Hemingway to Isaac Newton and Sylvia Plath, there are a million examples of smart, creative, and above average people struggling with this disorder. I am one of them, and we are just like you. So where do we go from here? How can we fight the issue of stigmatization of mental health disorders across the world while also raising empathy and awareness for them? For starters, we can educate ourselves and others. We cannot help without knowledge because with knowledge comes understanding. We must stress the fact that mental health is just as serious and can have just as much of dire consequences that physical health. Be conscious of yours and others' language around you and show compassion for people dealing with mental health problems. Write to news stations or TV networks that are participating in mental health. I have provided a few mental health campaigns that are working directly to fight against the stigmatization of mental health for others to look into in their own time if they're interested. There are numerous ways you can help fight against this issue. I fight the stigma by educating others and choosing to live an empowered life. What about you? Lastly, these are my resources. My presentation is over. If you have any questions, you can ask them now and I will try my best to answer them.
You did fantastic.
Thank you.
Wow.
So yeah, that's it. If there's no questions.
Well done.
Thank you guys for listening to me and letting me have this opportunity to share this information.
Hey, if I get a copy of this, I would love it.
I can send you one. I would love to do it.
Yeah, my sister's doing that with one of her kids. This would be amazing to share.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, I'll definitely send it your way. And I could send some other resources as well that I found during this research.
Love it.
Thanks for being so transparent as well.
Of course. Thank you guys for listening to my story and listening to my presentation. And I guess that is all.
All right.
All right. Good job, Cass.
Love it. Yay, super proud of you.